Donald Trump's Big D. Not something I was expecting to say on today's show. That's what The View got talking about on yesterday's or today's show. And it's actually not referencing what you think it's referencing. Take a look.
I have a bit of a theory, which I was very critical of Biden, and what I saw is sort of a decline that came with age with him. I have said this, and I'm ringing this bell. There is a decline with Donald Trump. He's never been the most eloquent person. That's an overstatement. But the judgment he's exercising right now, when it's not for him just about winning the White House. It's also about staying out of jail. His criminal cases do not go away if he loses. Right. And that he doesn't have the judgment 8 weeks out from an election to not have this fringe person who should be nowhere near the White House or mainstream politics advising him, where he's espousing with 67 million people watching that they're eating the pets. Something is off, and I just feel like it's not getting nearly enough attention. But the count.
Wait, so you're saying he has the big D?
I think he's in decline. I don't see judgment.
Wait. You've got to.
Let's clarify that.
She means dementia. She means dementia.
But
what are you talking about?
Quickly, Sarah's made this point.
All right, never mind.
To put this back on the rails, Sarah's made this point. This race is neck and neck, and Donald Trump is targeting low propensity white male voters. He's going on certain podcasts. It's kind of the Joe Rogan, meaning unlikely to turn out to vote. That's like that's what the term means.
I thought it meant low intelligence.
No. If people who don't,
he's going after those guys.
Yeah, he's going after young. About a third of the population doesn't vote. He's targeting young men to come out and vote for him, and that could make this race very tight, even if he turns off suburban women that he usually would need to win an election.
He has never turned them on, so he's definitely.
It all comes full circle.
That was just kind of stressful to watch, I'm going to be honest. And we will be getting to a really interesting segment on CNN where a comparison between how Trump spoke in the 2016 debate about the same subject versus how he spoke about them in this one, and how clearly it's so noticeable. It's not the same guy, not the same delivery. And while Trump was never a super smart, thoughtful, articulate person, he was able to keep a train of thought for longer, articulate things in a more effective way. And that ability is diminished significantly. We've looked at long compilations before. We won't do that again in this segment. But I'm really glad to see on The View here, and then, like I'm saying, on CNN, more questions being raised about his mental acuity. Because again, the concerns about Biden's led to him stepping off the ticket. That's how severe they got. And that's how seriously Biden took people's concerns. Trump clearly is not taking those concerns seriously. The best we get from him is going, I'm not cognitively declined. He'll say, that was my worst impression ever. Please, don't judge me for it. But this has also led to individuals like Democratic Congressman Jared Mosquit saying, for the country, it's time that Donald Trump meet with those close to him and make a decision about stepping off the ticket. A familiar phrase.
And let me just say one more thing, because, people are issuing statements, about the debate, and it's been really hard for me to get there. But I think based on the disastrous performance of the former president last night, it was really hard to watch, I think. And he really needs to think about whether he should continue as the Republican nominee. But I want to give him and his family space to make that decision.
We have your statement here that we will put up. It's a very serious and somber moment.
And the statement that Mosquit released on social media was, if we are being honest, last night's debate performance by former President Donald Trump was disastrous and hard to watch. I believe now is the time for the former president to have those difficult conversations about whether or not he shall continue. Why did I say shall? That's not what the word was. He should continue serving as the Republican Party's nominee for president. For now, I want to give him the space to meet with his family and make that decision.
I'm sure for you to have to make that
statement. It's time for compassion. It's time for compassion.
It's time for compassion. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and that from an interview with Midas Touch. If you haven't already and want to support us on our race to 1 million subscribers, you can do it by clicking that subscribe button below. Easy, free, simple. It makes all the difference. Back to the video. Friend of the show, David Pacman, also led his show yesterday with this call to the Trump campaign.
My friends, it is now obvious, especially after what we saw Tuesday night at the presidential debate in Pennsylvania, that one of the two candidates for the most powerful office, arguably in the world, is constitutionally, cognitively, and physically incapable of serving as president, or I would argue, even running a campaign appropriately. It is time to demand that Donald Trump step down for the good of the country. Republicans should be demanding that he step aside because he's just not up to the task. What we saw Tuesday was not an outlier. It was the culmination of the mental decline we've been seeing from Donald Trump for years.
And then it goes through specifics. You can watch it on his channel. But then we get to the CNN comparison. And this isn't the most jarring version of the Trump brain stories that we've been covering for some time now. I've said it before. The reason why people don't consider this as much with an also very, on the older side, Trump, as compared to people's concerns with Biden, is because Trump delivers whatever is going on often in a much more energetic, screamy sort of way. At the debate, he was sweating and shouting. And I think that comes off younger to people, childish even. But it is getting more attention, as you can see here with Abby Phillip.
We compared his debate answers back in 2016 to the ones that he gave this week. After the very first question on the issue of immigration, that is right there in his wheelhouse. This week, as you'll see, he veers off topic several times. Watch.
Well, first of all, she wants to give amnesty, which is a disaster and very unfair to all of the people that are waiting in line for many, many years. We need strong borders. First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. They're coming in illegally. Drugs are pouring in through the border. We have no country if we have no border. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. The single biggest problem is heroin that pours across our southern borders, just pouring and destroying their youth. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country. Now, I want to build the wall. We need the wall. The Border Patrol, ICE, they all want the wall. We stop the drugs. We shore up the border. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And once the border is secured, at a later date, we'll make a determination as to the rest. But we have some bad hombres here, and we're going to get them out. If she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
So what's really interesting is, as we were following the Biden story, I've continued to say, I think he's able to be president. He's obviously done a really good job as president. And I'm sure he didn't step off the ticket when right-wingers would say, well, if he doesn't think he's mentally fit enough to be president the next 4 years, why is he not resigning now? And my point was, I think for sure Biden thinks he's mentally fit enough to be president. And he didn't step off the ticket because he agreed with people saying he wasn't. He stepped off the ticket because he started to agree that maybe he can't win because of the concerns around his mental fitness. And so what's fascinating is people saying to Trump the same things that were being said to Biden. And some of this is sort of tongue-in-cheek because we know Trump wouldn't take those things seriously, like Biden actually takes seriously our democracy. And so he wanted that and the country to go above his personal ambition. That's what made the decision. But with Trump, that case is just as strong in terms of the winning question. For him, it wouldn't be as much about his mental acuity as to why he could lose. But when you hear Jared Moskowitz and David Pacman saying, for the sake of the country and the Republican Party, Republicans need to convince Trump not to be their nominee, that's not going to happen, obviously. But it's actually a solid argument because a lot of Republican candidates could have a really good shot of winning, unfortunately, in this current political environment. Trump's one of the rare ones, given all of his baggage, that that could very likely lose to Vice President Kamala Harris. And so this is the perfect example of how if Trump actually wanted what would lead to the policies he says he believes in, he would have endorsed or supported a MAGA candidate that would have a better shot of winning, because most of them would have a better shot of winning than him. He would never do that, though, because it's not about any of the principles he's talking about. It's that he needs to serve his ego and really wants to be president again and wants to get out of legal trouble through that. Whereas Biden, once he realized, for the sake of his party, his principles, and the country, our democracy, it would be best for him to sell the ticket. That's what he did. Huge difference between those two leaders, as we've now covered so much. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Support the show by clicking the join button below. Donate to Kamala Harris' campaign by clicking the link in the description of this video.